How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at Scrub Games, and today we're going for another local spotlight, and this time we're going to go over Gio's yellow Syn Shenron that he took to the Webcam Locals recently and did absolutely well, smashing it, taking first place, and it's not a deck that you'd expect to see, so this is why we're covering it. So how's it going, Gio?
Yeah, all good, Jamie, and you?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine, just having a nice day, but yeah, so I've seen people are interested in this deck, and it's not one that we see often in Yellow City, even though it's still a strong deck, and even better, really, technically, with all the generic good yellow stuff, and even the new Syn card it's got. And it's something we don't really see it often, and you are the resident Syn player of the UK, and imagine Italy as well. So what we're going to do is go through your deck, and if you just want to walk through it and just go over the cards and the card choices and stuff like that. So do you want to start off with the leader?
Well, yeah, this is the leader, and yellow Syn Shenron. On attack, I look at the top 5 deck, and I can take any Shadow Dragons, and at the end of the turn, I can choose one of my dragon and restand it. The awakening condition is 3 lives or a Unison of cost 4 on the field. And when I awaken, I draw 2 and untap 1. On the other side, on attack, he draws a card, and at the end of the turn, I untap all my Shadow Dragons. And got an active main. I can pay 6 mono yellow and play up to 7 dragons with different names from my drop area on field. And for what the deck tried to do, obviously, is to get as many Shadow Dragons as possible. The win condition on this side, obviously, the win condition has to be top 6, because I used to play it very aggro at the beginning, but unfortunately, after the set 18 was released, and all the very strong red decks that we've got, playing that aggro would make it like very weak on the crackback, so I decided to switch to control, and that's why we are trying to go for the turn 6 onwards and top 6 every turn, and bring as many dragons back as possible, and try to kill the opponent like that.
Because that was one of the cool things as well with this deck, is when it originally came out, it was more of a slow pace deck, and then as it got more support over sets, it had like 2 versions, being the very aggressive one, which is very, very good, and a little bit oppressive, and also the control one.
Yeah, unfortunately, because if you try to do the aggro version, which I normally in the past I used to do, it leaves you like all your battle cards don't really have protection except for 1 or 2. So obviously the meta has become so aggressive, and it has got so much removal that really it was, if you didn't kill the opponent on your turn, you were definitely dead on the crackback. So it wasn't safe to play aggro anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, because some of the main things for it as well is main hits for it to make it less aggressive is, one of the big things was the pan. You can get your awakening very, very low to get quite a low life to trigger pan, so you could restand your kill swings, being like your triple strikes, Syns and stuff. And then also the Ratata Selzeno made it a lot less aggressive, because you can no longer get that quad strike turn 2, which was one of the scariest things about it.
Yeah, also the fact that Belmont was banned, and the Fate against Fate, the Bardock Fate against Fate.
Yeah.
So the Overrealm, basically, that was they stopped a lot of free pressure, and obviously the deck got, it's definitely more of a control deck than an aggro, sure. For the main deck, I've got, obviously, to help to make the deck more consistent, I've got 4 of the Oceanus, which is basically what the leader does on the front side. I burst 1, which sometimes can be very painful. Look at the top 5 and take a dragon. Mono yellow, this time 8 or less. Unlike what the leader says that I can take any dragon. And it's got the on attack, I can rest a battle card, and if it's 2 drop or less, I can KO it. And which is this is also a blocker barrier, which comes really handy for the Omega Shenron A drop. You can steal this skill from the drop area, and becomes a blocker barrier basically until the end of the opponent's turn. And after this, the main thing especially for the first few turns, what you're trying to do is to use Ace Shenron to bring the balls, which we play for the 8-drop, the 1-drops in. Basically, I can pay 1 yellow, discard this guy from hand, and I can take from my deck. I play on the field. I can play the 1-drop Syn Star. And what it does, basically, I can pay 1 yellow and take a Syn Shenron, costs between 2 and 4, from my deck or hand and play it. And also this guy, it comes handy sometimes, but it's also a counter play. So for 2, the butter card that is being played is playing rest mode. So sometimes it happens, but it's very situational, but you never know.
Yeah, it's not something many people expect as well, for them to have a counterplay like that if you've got 2 energy open, but it's not often you can have 2 energy open, but it's nice to have that option if you've got that in your hand.
Yeah, that's for sure. For the 1-drop ball, the only 2 targets that we've got is the 2 4-drop Syns, which are quite strong, obviously. The new promo that's been released is really, really good in any yellow deck, obviously, but it becomes really, really good on this deck because I can either search it with my leader or my Oceanus, and also I can just bring it back, play from the deck on turn 2. So regardless of the stipulation that it says that you need to have 7 cards in any visible area to reduce the cost, I can just play it for 1 from my deck. Yes, I don't get to draw 1 card, but fine. 24k blocker barrier on turn 2 is pretty good. Yeah. And also they can blank any card that comes into play. Is a good alternative to this guy, which this guy is when he gets played from deck or hand, obviously I can choose 1 battle card 4 or less, or a leader card, and they cannot attack on the next turn. He's very good when you can lock a leader from attack, but these days leader tend to awaken by turn 2, turn 3, so as soon as the leader awakens, they lose this, they can attack basically. So sometimes that's why I tend to play this one more than this one. If it's a slow game and I know that this leader, they don't have an alternative awakening condition, so they have to awaken 4 lives, I can definitely go for this one, trying to stall a little bit more. But if I know that the leader is going to awaken on next turn for any sort of alternative awakening condition, I can definitely play this one, that I feel more safe from that. And obviously on top of these 2 guys, I play the 9-drop Syn, and this is a really good card. It's a blocker revenge, X evolve for 1 on top of a 4-cost Syn Shenron, and anytime the opponent plays a battle card, I can choose that battle card, ignoring barrier, and negate the skill for the turn. When this guy gets killed by skill or KO, I can play the 1-drop ball from the drop and draw 2 cards. And this guy is only when he's removed by skill. I get to draw 1 and play the drop from the 1-drop ball from the drop area.
And that 9-drop as well is just in some decks and some matchups it's just so devastating. And even if they remove it, you can always it's a very easy drop again, because like you said, it plays the 1-drop out to then go ahead and grab another 4-drop from your deck, and then can just drop it again for quite cheap.
Yeah, all these guys are really good because they force the opponent to play around there before they can actually start their turn. They really have to focus on removing this guy, and after that they can start playing the turn basically with their whatever strategy their deck has. And it's not that easy to remove, because unless she hasn't got protection, but it's a 30k, so with blocker revenge, so it's pretty hard to remove anyway.
Yeah.
And for other dragons that I play just 1 copy of Haze. It's mostly because for the turn 6, when I bring back all the dragons, this adds me a dragon costs 4 or less from my drop to my hand, so potentially an Oceanus or any other dragon that I might need. And it's good to have it in combination with the 4-drop haste that I can evolve on top of it for free. So potentially on turn 6 with this one I can get back one of this one, and after I attack with this one I can evolve it on top of it and it comes back in active mode. So there's an extra attack. But this guy is really good obviously in your hand. During the combo step, I can, when he attacks, when he's using a combo, I can discard a dragon from my hand and I can kill a battle card in rest mode with cost greater than my opponent's energy. And yeah, if a lot of people forget about this card, and when they attack me with a card with no protection and maybe a triple strike and they start comboing, I can just like, you know, combo this one, drop discard a dragon, and you know, the guy is dead.
Yeah, it's one of those cards where unless you're like big beat stick, like we're in a format now where a lot of people are playing big things for cheap, like for less than their actual energy costs. But then with it's got no protection against this deck, it's always got the fear of if they try to go too far in, like to put too much into it, it can be stopped by just a single card.
Yeah, it's and as I said, because this deck has become a rogue deck, people forget about this card. That's the thing. And if you don't reveal it while you lead a skill or Oceano skill, if you have in hand, you tend not to reveal it, and you know, if they go all in, well, you know, it's not good for them.
Yeah.
Just to finish the dragons that I play, basically, I playing just 4 copies of the A-drop, and it's becoming really hard to play this guy because I can play for 1 yellow. I choose one of my mono yellow shadow dragons, cost 4 or less, send it to the drop, draw a card, and play this guy. And it's becoming really hard to play it because the guy that I've got on the field are really good and I don't want to kill them. So that's why it's getting very tricky to it got very tricky to play this guy. But nevertheless, it's a really good card. Once per turn, I can basically remove a shadow dragon cost between 2 and 4 that is not Syn Shenron, and take up to 1 life. And this guy gets the skill of that dragon until the end of my opponent's next turn. So I can, you know, I can take a Oceanus, it becomes a blocker barrier. I can take a Haze, and he gets this skill. He's also a double strike. Get this one as well, and he's crit. So he's very good. He's a very versatile card that is just really good. It used to be really good in the past, but now because the cards that I got on the field are just, I get so much value of the card that I get on the field that I don't feel the need to drop this guy, but I still want in my deck because, you know, you never know. It might be that situation that this guy can become very handy and I can remove a card from my opponent field. So good to have it. Other 8-drop that I play is obviously the triple strike, and I can play it for 1, remove 7 dragons from my drop, and draw a card, and he's a 30k triple strike. As I said before, it used to be like my win con in my aggro version. I was playing 3, even 4 copies sometimes, and that's this card because that's how good it was. But now, because I'm building the control version and I'm trying to go for a turn 6 win. If I do this guy at turn 3 or 5 mostly, I'm removing 7 good cards from my drop, and on my next turn I won't have a very impactful turn 6 play with my leader skill. And yeah, so basically it's good to have in 1 copy now, but I mostly bring it out with my up 6 skill, leader skill basically.
Yeah.
And that is why also, because I play 1 copy of the new guy that came out. It's a support for the Agent of Destruction. There is no other way to play this guy except for the top 6 basically. And comes out. When he comes out, he's a triple strike, mostly if your opponent has got 3 energy, but as I said, I'm not going to play in any other way, so by then my opponent definitely has 3 energy, so it's a triple strike that when it casts its play, I can draw 1 card or KO a card ignoring barrier. So they're both like basically two triple strikes with different names. Because otherwise, if I would play two copies of the same one, I wouldn't be able to ring it out. So I would rather play it like this, and you know.
And it's always nice to have that bit of barrier removal as well when you do turn 6, just to get rid of something off your opponent's board. That's got protection that you kind of just don't want there.
Yeah, I mean, it's got, you know, as I said, these guys are only coming out with the top 6, so it doesn't really make sense to have two of the same card, two copies of the same card. So it's good to have like options basically on turn 6. As a secret rare, yeah, I'm going for Cell Xeno. It's just, I could think about playing and going Piccolo because, you know, it's a really good secret rare, like especially when you swing with a triple strike and you just combo one card, all of a sudden it's a 60k triple strike that you have to stop. So that's a pretty good, you know, win con. But again, Cell Xeno is just so easy to drop in this deck because I'm loaded with 8 costs or 4 costs, so 3 as well and 9. So it's just so easy to drop that as long as I have it in my hand, I know that I can leave my opponent at high lives, playing obviously a very grindy game, and killing my opponents, like just reducing the resources, and just I can just drop Cell Xeno and killing it with one attack basically.
And one of the great things is this is with your leader where you play 7 different named Shadow Dragons, you can always bring a 4 and an 8 drop out and swing with those and then just straight up use them for this, and then you're at 5 energy, at least 6 energy, to then trigger the full effect of getting that dual attack and quad striker, plus ripping 3 cards at your opponent's hand, which is just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, as I said, yeah, exactly. I bring second dragon, which most of the time are these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I can do the 7 with the other rod. So when I get the haze, I take the other haze 4-drop from hand, and I've got this guy as well, and then I can drop either this one or this one if they're not on the field already, because most of the time these guys tend to stick. So it's already on the field, so I bring this one back. And all these guys are literally just 8, 4, 3, and 9. So Cell Xeno is just, you know, as long as you don't burst it with with Yoshiano's skill, you tend to see it, because this deck obviously draws a lot of cards in late game, and you normally have it in hand unless you burst it with Oceano, which is, you know, could happen. But as long as after you finish attacking with this board, you know, you can just drop a Cell Xeno. The opponent normally doesn't have many cards in hand, and you just like, you just kill it 4 lives like that.
And one nice thing as well is because how the ball works, allowing you to go through your deck and find a 4-drop. You can always, from the beginning of the game, know if your secret is in your deck or in your life or not, thanks to the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And these are all the dragons, basically, the deck, and the secret rare. Again, because I'm playing a control version of the deck, we are obviously playing the Unison. This allows the leader to awaken, and at any point, obviously, we don't take lives, so if the opponent doesn't attack us, we can literally awaken and stay a high life. The moment at turn 4, when you drop the Unison, is getting really hard for your opponent to kill you, especially if you are at high lives, because the skill, the +1, I can draw 1 card, choose one, you put my opponent's battle card, ignoring barrier, and that card cannot withstand, which is stopping a lot of aggression. And also, if this guy's a blocker, and if he loses a marker by an attack, I can switch one of my opponent's cards to rest mode, which is normally an energy. And that means that obviously the opponent is trying to kill me using 1 less energy than what he has. So it becomes really hard to put some aggression in, and I can stop everything basically. It also has the nice skill, a -4, which doesn't really come up, but you know, it's good to have it, which basically I can choose one of my opponent's battle card, take control of it, and switch it to active mode. If I have another Unison in hand, I can attack it under, and just do the -4 like that, especially on turn 6. So in case to give me like another swing and try to push it, try to go for game like that.
Yeah.
It's a really good Unison. I've tried to consider there was another promo which is a Zamazu, Black Goku, whatever. Which is of course 4, but this guy is just too good.
Yeah.
He draws, he stop your opponent. He's a blocker, and he rests on energy. It's just too good.
Yeah, like with all the skills it has, and also being immune to black smoke, being a 4 specified cost, means that you can't just, like with a lot of Unison strat, like it's YOLO Unisons nowadays that aren't 3 or more, just having black smoke deal with it quite easily is not an issue, because you want to get rid of this as soon as possible, and the hardest way to do that is by attacking it, which triggers the auto, which makes it really troublesome. And considering like the defense yellow has, especially with your blocker dragons was at, it's going to be very hard for them to get rid of this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a 15k Unison, which if you think about it, for a 4-cost Unison is really low. But that is also a good thing, because then at least you're sure that it's gonna lose a marker by an attack, and it's just gonna rest that energy.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. And after that, I play Wambu Unison, Wambu, and go for energy. Is a 30k double strike. Yellow, basically, if your leader is yellow. It's an extra card. It's good to have it. It's also obviously a 8 cost, which works out pretty well for Selk Xeno as well.
Mm-hmm.
There is a yellow card, so yeah, why not? And the Overrealm is Secret Anti-Musketeer, just to claim my opponent's board. Again, these cards normally, Boo can come out normally on turn 5, because turn 4 I'm obviously playing the Unison, Awaken, and leave 1 energy up from defense. So normally this one comes out at turn 5, and this one comes out only after I've done the leader skill to bring the dragons back. So that's why I'm even thinking about cutting it, because it's good to have it for the for my final turn, but I'm not gonna play an Overrealm before turn 6. And even when I play, I need to be very careful that if the opponent doesn't die next turn, I have to do the top 6 again. So I really need to make sure that I've got dragons on the drop, basically.
Have you considered using the trunks from all the way back in set 4? The one that requires 2 energy is an Overrealm 4. I think that allows you to get back one card from your warp, as well like to recur your secret rares or even maybe super combos.
Yes, I used to play that card on my build that I had before, but all the turns in this deck are really it's very hard to play with that, because obviously it's not a free Overrealm. And turn 1 I'm playing the ball, turn 2 I'm using the skill and leaving 1 energy up, turn 3 I can evolve the Syn 9 drop and leave 1 or 2 energy up, turn 4 I've got the Unison coming down, turn 5 I could play that, but again, as I said, is the turn before the big leader skill, so I don't really want to compromise my drop, but I don't really want to, it has to be a good Overrealm, right? And from turn 6 onwards, there's no way that I'm gonna pay 2 energy for an Overrealm. It's just not gonna happen. So that's why I'm sticking to a free Overrealm, basically. I could potentially play the new Vegeta, the 30k that warps just 1 battle card, which is the new promo that just recently came out.
Yeah. And
that could potentially be a nice alternative to that, but it has to be, unfortunately, a free Overrealm, and it has to be a big guy, big stick with removal, just to go in for the final swing, basically.
Yeah.
Super combo, obviously. Really. Nothing to say about that, right? Bottom deck 1 if your life is 4 or less, and bottom deck 1 card and draw 2. Very helpful with this deck, because it allows me to bottom deck the 4-cost Syn to bring it out from the ball from the deck, so I'm actually not really losing a card from my hand.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is basically the only super combo that is worth playing this deck.
Yeah, you're not really running any other super combo unless it's more vital to your strategy, or you're not able to play the set 11 bunch of super combos.
If Bandai releases a Shadow Dragon super combo that I can search for my leader, sure, I'll think about it. Other super combo, anyone that has got like, I don't know, Sparkling 5 or Life 4 or less, are really, really tricky because I don't really build up a massive drop until it's like the turn 4, turn 5.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard for me to have a Sparkling 5 super combo. And also, if I manage to awaken with using my Unison, I might not have 4 lives. So, and then again, I want to stay high in life, so that obviously is not good, obviously, for the Greedy, because Greedy needs 4 lives. But still, I think with all the defense that I build, that I put down, if I also keep my super combo in hand, I'm dropping like 1 energy, 30k bit sticks, so I don't really need to combo on attack. It's more on defense, and in defense I've got enough blockers to get me through everything, so I'm happy with the Greedy super combo, to be honest. As soon as I go down to 4 lives, you know, they are alive, and you know, it's even harder to kill me, basically.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, while you're higher life, you're not too worried, but when you get lower life, that's when you actually want those super combos to actually be useful to defend yourself, and Krillin is probably, yeah, the best yellow one we've got so far.
I would maybe consider, you know, there are the new super combo that says if you got 2 Z energy, or a Z leader or Z battle card, you can just throw 1. But this deck is really bad at making Z energy. I just don't make Z energy with this deck, it's really hard. Because I don't want to combo, as I said, my dragons, because they're very good on field. And if I combo my dragons and I put in the Z energy, I'm taking dragons out of my drop. So again, when I tap 6, I might not have dragons because they are in my Z energy. So yeah, it doesn't really work out well. And yeah, I think that's just the best super combo for this deck. There's has to be this one, basically.
Yeah.
There's no reason to play any other one. When it comes to defense, yellow obviously has got some really good cards in Robotic Riposte and 2 Vegeta. Robotic Riposte cost is reduced for each extra card that you've got in the drop or energy. So normally it comes in for 1 cost energy. Every time the opponent has to attack, he has to rest an energy. Rest a card, sorry. And then again, it's getting even more hard for the opponents to go through all my defense, basically.
Yeah.
And Vegeta instead is a counterplay, and cost is reduced when I've got 2 Z energy or a Z leader or a Z battle card on the field. They cost 1. And I only play 2 because, as I said, it's really hard for this deck to make like Z energy. So you need to be very careful, but you know, Riposte is much more effective. It's much more useful in this deck than Vegeta. But I still want to have it. You know, why not?
Yeah.
And also, if I got a Z battle card in play or a Z leader, my leader becomes basically immune from the strike skill, so immune to double strike and triple strike as such. And so yeah, that's pretty good. Oh yeah, well obviously, your opponent have to rest something when he attacks with a non-Unison card, and this one is with a non-leader card. So obviously you need to be careful which one to use, obviously, you know, depending on your matchup and what your opponent is playing. And after this, obviously, there's my extra card package, which is 1 Power Super Saiyan. I can play it for free if I got 1 mono yellow energy up, and I can rest a battle card or Unison and draw a card. And 2 almost got Black MMA. And defense, I draw 1 and I rest 2 cards. That is obviously a plus 10k. And on my turn instead, I can choose one of my opponent's battle card in rest mode and KO. So normally you use it on defense, plus 10k, draw 1, rest 2 battle card, so it's pretty good. And 2 Tyrannical Blow. If the battle card being played has got a cost of 3 or less, it's played with the skill negated, and then also can choose a Unison or a battle card and negate the skill for the turn. So I can negate the skill of 2 cards potentially.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. And then the Dragon Thunder. If my leader is a Shadow Dragon, I got at least 3 energy in rest mode, I can play it for free. And my leader, not just my leader, but any Shadow Dragons can get plus 5k for the turn.
Yeah.
And again, if my leader is a Shadow Dragon and I pay the energy to do this, I can choose 1 battle card and negate the skill for the turn. So, which is pretty good, even using in battle. I can just pay 1, get a plus 5 for the turn, and blank the attacking card.
Yeah.
So,
And just the fact you can use it for free defensively for just a 5k without using energy.
Yeah, that's really good.
Which is really good for it.
Yeah, it's basically a Senzu Bean for free. So, you know, why not? And that's it. This is the main deck. And the Z deck is pretty standard. It's like, you know, the Vegeta's from Watching the Impossible and Self-Awakener and Oolong. You know, copy one of my, you know, about it, copying the power of my guy. That all 30k basically. So this is a nice swing. Freezer, because he's just a 1-drop for 1Z energy, 15k. I don't even know what he does. It's just a 1-drop 15k basically. Go on, 2 energy, 1Z energy. Again, just a dual attack. And then maybe the one that I use the most is Hercule, Reliant Hope. Again, the main works with the Spirit Bomb Goku deck. So we're not going to use that. It's just the cheapest 1-drop Z battle card with barrier. And out of this one, we can play on our turn, and then on your opponent's turn, we can counterplay with Vegeta. And because I've got a Z battle card in play, I can play the Vegeta, and my leader is immune from double strike and triple strike, basically, for the turn.
Oh yeah,
that's the only reason why we're playing it.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool idea.
And that is literally, out of all of these, is probably these 2 are the only Z battle card that I actually get to play. Maybe even the Vegeta. The other 2 are the Goku and the new SS3 Vegeta. Again, these are really good Z battle card. Nothing to say about it. Everyone knows the skills. But the problem is they just don't work well with the way I'm planning my game, because paying 3 is really costly. And the Goku, I can remove 1 of my Z energy, which again, as I said, is really hard for me to make Z energy. But even if I do that, I can blank 1 of my opponent's cards, battle cards or Unison that ends his play. But my guys are already doing that. So this is a bit of a redundant effect, if you follow me. And he also locks the leader or Unison or battle card from attacking, which again, my guys, my 4-drop Syn Shenron does that already. So it's a little bit of a... This skill is a bit redundant. And this is barrier removal, dual attack that potentially can become a crit, which is, again, really good. But paying 3 energy is a lot. It never works well. It doesn't feel great paying 3 energy in this deck just to drop 1 battle card.
Yeah.
That's that, basically.
Yeah,
so yeah,
it's just really nice where if like just for utility as well, just if you ever need it, they're there, but they're not crucial, unlike some other yellow decks.
Yeah, it's good to have them. You never know, right? As I said, I don't really use a Z deck, but it's good to have all of these guys options, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I've got the side deck build because it was a best of 1 event. It was a very... I didn't put much thinking into it, but it's a very generic side deck for yellow.
Yeah, most of the time with a side deck as well, like it all depends on the meta you're expecting and maybe like your local area as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's very... Any region, any big tournament that you're doing, obviously, side deck can change anytime, based on the meta, based off if you know what your opponent's gonna play roughly, so you can always change it. But you know, as a generic, I would say yellow side deck. I've got the Vegeta Unison Fury, mostly do the -1 to stop your opponent's battle card with cost greater than your opponent's energy from attacking, and so just stop the opponent's pressure. Kami Global Unifier, you pay 1 play it, and then we pay 2, and you warp all the ignoring barrier, all the battle card costs 4 or less, which normally your guys are immune because I will 8 drop mostly. So good for Transgita, all those guys that, you know, all those decks that play little guy with barrier and protection, that try to play like, you know, the more conservative games like you do. But I get with this one, you just walk the board and that's it.
Yeah.
Koitsukai, really good card. He always comes in because it's just good. 1 energy fixes my hand, and then if your opponent wants to play a battle card during my turn, like to stop my guys from attacking or anything, you know, it's gonna, you know, it has to warp 2 cards. Any battle cards that gets played 20k or power or less is, you know, your opponent has to warp 2, so you know, needs to be careful. I play 1 Goku for the blue matchup. If your opponent is playing an extra card, he has to tap. He has to switch an extra energy basically. The extra card is gonna cost 1 more. And normally I can drop this one on turn 5, even in active mode. And then on the follow-up on turn 6, when I bring all the dragons back, if your opponent wants to survive it with extra card, obviously he has to pay an extra one. So it's an extra pressure basically. Yeah. And 1 cooler. It feels crazy relegating this card basically to side deck and not main deck. But again, as I said for my Z battle card before, this deck is really hard to tap 3 energy for a card. And I can only play this one again, let's say on turn 5 for example, on attack. If I pay 3 energy, my turn is basically over, so it's not really worth playing it. And after turn 5, I'm always tapping 6 for my dragons, and I would never get the chance to play this one.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I called it. It's a really good counter, but with how it's changing now with the game, how like we're getting more floodgates that are quite cheap. Playing 3 to stop a 1-cost floodgate or a 1-cost negate feels really bad unless it's actually a kill swing that's then gonna that you can put through and actually finish the game on.
Yeah, it's, as I said, it seems crazy not putting in the main deck, which probably is, to be honest, but it doesn't work well with this deck. 3 energy is a lot. And then I've got just to finish up, do some extra card just in case I need to swap the Black Kamehameha or the Tyrannical Blow in my deck, just to keep it more consistent obviously. And can you put the Final Flash inside of Nimbus or Time Magic, whatever, according to what my opponent is going to play basically, you know.
Yeah, it's really nice being able to be flexible with the side, to just because some extra cards are better in certain matchups than other ones. To be able to like switch them out for certain matchups just makes it a little bit easier.
It depends on your opponent. If your opponent is, I know that it's not gonna be go wide with this deck, I can take these guys out and maybe put a Final Flash or a Time Magic to have an extra negate. It really, or if I don't know that it's not gonna mainly have, I don't know, Tyrannical Blow, I can move. I don't know. It depends. Depends on the situation, right? So, good to have them. So that's it. That was my deck. I had a lot of fun. Obviously, it's a very rogue deck right now because of the big guys and the, you know, Gogeta and Red Syn, and it doesn't keep up with those guys. Obviously, you can't, you know. It's not a fair game, basically.
Yeah, it's not consistently able to battle some of the more dominant red decks, but it's still is one of those decks which, if you're not prepared for it, it can pull out a win from it, which is a nice thing about road decks.
We'll see. Maybe with a new ban list, it might become an option. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's looking forward to now, seeing how, like, if the ban list can actually fix the format and make it a little bit more enjoyable. But yeah, that is the list. Thank you, Gio, for sharing. I imagine anybody watching will be happy to see it and have a little look and maybe even take some ideas for their sins. But before we end it off, have you got any shoutouts or anything you want to give while you're here?
Obviously, a shout out to all the guys here in London that I play with, Max and the guys at Brotherhood. Yamcha baseball team, and good guys, always good fun with them. Big shout out to my Italian friends. Obviously, I'm a big part. I love going to Italy and play with them as well in big tournaments. And my Italian team, Venengers. Big shout out to Spaghetti Fighters as well, because I started this game basically during lockdown, and they were basically the only ones who was running online tournaments. So they really, I put a lot of practice with them, and you know, obviously big shout out to them. And obviously, most important, my brother, he got me into the game, and yeah, he's my favorite one. We practice a lot, and you know, I really want to see him do well in this game as well one day. But yeah, big shout out to him, obviously, and you as well for having me in the channel.
Oh, thank you, Yeah, your brother's lovely. I've met him a few times now, and just yeah, he's lovely to chat to, Francisco. So that is going to be the end for today. So thank you once again, Gio, for joining us, and we'll catch you all next time.
Welcome.
See you in a bit.
Thank you. Bye bye.